Good morning, everyone. Myself, Ambrish Kumar Gupta, Principal, Kendriya Vidyalaya, Rajkot. I have been a student of history, so I'm going to start my video lesson on history. Basically, I was dealing with the student of class 11th and 12th, so I'll start on class 11th history book, which is basically about word history. And the first topic in 11th history NCERT textbook is from the beginning of time. And this chapter deal with the beginning of human existence. So I'll start this chapter with the introduction of this topic. Our Earth evolved around 4.6 billion years ago as per Big Bang theory. After that, initially aquatic creatures, unicellular creatures came into existence on this earth like amoeba, protozoa, jellyfish. Then these initial creatures evolved in amphibians, reptiles, then mammals, then primates, hominid, and modern humans. Modern humans came into existence around 1.6 lakhs years ago. Before that, around 5.6 million years ago, human-like creature came into being, and these people obtained food by scavenging and hunting animals and gathering plant produce. This time, tool making and early communication system was prevailing. So next, what are the sources of early humans? Actually, we are talking about the existence, early human existence. So there are many sources to know about these early humans. First thing is fossils. Fossils are the remains or impressions of a very old plant, animal, or human which have turned into stone. Actually, with the passage of time, these early evidences are turned into stone, and these are the sources of knowing early humans and human society. Then other sources, stone tools. Humans started making stone tools around 7 lakhs to 5 lakhs years ago, and different kind of stone tools we found like chopper, chopping, hand axe, cleaver, bows and arrows. These tools are help us to understand early human society. Then cave paintings. Human Early humans made several paintings in caves. These cave paintings depict the society of that time. These paintings are used to paint animals and the tools which were being used by those periods, uh, those people who were living in that period. Then we have evidences of burnt food grains which are turned into carbon form. So these carbonized food grains tells us about which kind of food grains were being used by people of those times. Then artifacts. Artifacts are the materials, are the equipments, tools which were made by early humans. So they made jewelry, they made tools, and many other things which were utilized by those people. So artifacts are also source of knowing early humans. Then we have many evidences. These evidences are how dated, means how these things which have been excavated, found by the archaeologist, how these things are dated. So dating of ancient findings are done by two ways. First, directly by dating the sediments, fossils through chemical analysis. First thing is carbon 14 method. This is very popular method to date any sediment and any material. So this method basically date the artifacts which are 50,000 to 60,000 years old. And if the material is older than this, then potassium organ method is used. And this method date material, the findings up to 1 lakh years ago. And if the things are older than this, so the uranium method is used. And this uranium method date any material between 10 lakh years ago to 1 billion years ago. So by dating, by chemical analysis, we can date any material, anything. Indirectly by dating the sediments in which they are buried. Whenever we excavate any site, we get layers of any mound. Actually, excavation is done in two manners, vertical and horizontal. Vertical excavation reveal the timeline. The lower level, the artifacts which are found at the lower level are older than the material found on the upper level. And the horizontal excavation generally reveal the cultural richness of any site. So by excavation, by studying stratigraphy, we can date any finding. Then dendrochronology. Every tree get one growth ring every year. And if the tree is cut, by counting, we can date any tree. This is also a method by which we can date any wood material. And the last one is observation of finding. Observation is very popular thing. Actually, things are identified by their nature. Like suppose we take an example of potteries. So NBPW, Northern Black Polished Wares, are newer than the PGW. So if you see and compare these two different kind of potteries, you can easily date findings. So by observation of any findings, we can date any material. Further, if we talk about authenticity of archaeological evidences, a few people do not believe, do not trust on the dating the archaeological evidences. They believe that this earth was not so old and this human is basically created by God. So religious belief do not support the timeline of archaeological findings. First time in 1856, a few workmen found a skull in Neanderthal Valley near Dusseldorf, Germany, and handed over to Karl Vollrath, who was a schoolmaster and natural historian, who claimed that this skull does not belong to modern human, but scholars who did not accept it regarded these people brutish and pathological idiots. First time in 1859, Charles Darwin gave the theory of evolution by natural selection. So there are two theories we have regarding creation of human being. First is divine theory. Most religions have stories about the creation of human being which often do not correspond with scientific discoveries. If you see the Christianity, people believe that this human being is created by God, and Adam and Eve were the first pair who started this journey of human being. In Islam, we believe that Adam and Hawa. In Hindu religion, we believe Manu and Shraddha were the people who started this human species. But against this scientific theory was first time deliberately in detail explained by Charles Darwin on 24th November 1859. He described his theory in a book named On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. This book was published in 1859, and on the same day all 1250 copies were sold. Darwin argued in his book that great variety of plant and animal, including humans, had evolved gradually through natural selection. As I told you in the very initial lines in the second slide of my lesson. But this scientific idea was started as early as the 16th century. Now we see the biological classification of modern humans. Actually, these terms are very important to understand this chapter. These terms gives us the sequence by which this human evolved. So we comes under animal kingdom, then we are the branch of chordata, then our class is mammals, and the feature of mammal is all mammals have body hair, they are warm blooded, and they have mammary gland. So primate is an order of mammal, then hominoid developed from primates, then homos developed, then homo sapiens, homo habilis, and homo erectus are the varieties, species of the Homo genus. So these are the biological classification and the sequential order of human growth. So these terms will help us to understand. Let's see some definition. Primates. Primates are a subgroup of a larger group of mammals. It means the primates are evolved from mammals. They include monkeys, apes, humans. They have body hair, a relatively long gestation period following birth, mammary glands, different type of teeth, and ability to maintain a constant body temperature. Then, species. A species is a group of organisms that can breed to produce fertile offspring. Members of one species cannot mate with those of other species to produce. Further, hominoids. Hominoids are different from monkeys in a number of ways. They have a larger body and do not have a tail. Besides, there is a longer period of infant development and dependency amongst hominoid. Further, hominids evolved from hominid, belongs to a family known as hominid, which include all forms of human being. The distinctive characteristics of hominids include a large brain size, upright posture, bipedal locomotion, and specialization of hand. Now the most important topic, the difference between hominoids and hominid. So if you see the sequential order of human evolution, hominoid are evolved from primates, whereas hominids evolved from hominoid. You can differentiate these two by this way. Hominids emerged nearby 24 million years ago, whereas hominid emerged nearby 5.6 million years ago. Hominoids have a smaller brain size but heavier skull and jaw size, whereas the hominid have bigger brain size but a smaller skull and jaw size. Hominids have flexible forelimb and their fingers were not fully developed as we have today. Their fingers were connected with thin layers of skin like some birds. So they are quadruped, whereas the hominids have developed hand, bipedal locomotion, and their fingers are absolutely free for independent use for like carrying children and making tools, etc. Historians and archaeologists are agreed that human is originated in Africa. So generally it is asked in examination, what are the evidences we have to prove that African origin of hominid? So we have two things to say. First, group of African apes like Australopithecus are most closely related to hominids. This is the reason even whatever species available on earth, human species, their DNA is matching with the Australopithecus. So on that basis, we can say the hominids are evolved in Africa, first East Africa. Second, earliest hominid fossils, Australopithecus, found in East Africa and date back around 5.6 million years ago. This is the oldest date we have finding of any Australopithecus or any Homo species, whereas fossils found outside Africa are no older than 1.8 million years ago. Here is a map showing the sites of Australopithecus. So the main places in Africa where Australopithecus remains are found are Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, South Africa. So these places can be identified. These are generally asked in examination to locate. Now we will see the branches of hominids. Hominids are further subdivided into branches known as genus, of which Australopithecus and Homos are important. But Australopithecus are the most ancient genus and the Homos are newest genus. Between these, many other species of human being evolved, but they uh, finished also. So Australopithecus was the initial genus in hominid and the Homos are the last genus under hominid. Each of these in turn includes several species. The major differences between the former has a smaller brain size, heavier jaws, and larger teeth than the later. Virtually all the names given by scientists to these species are derived from Latin and Greek word. For instance, the name Australopithecus comes from a Latin word austral meaning southern and a Greek word pithekos which means apes. So Australopithecus meaning is southern ape. Southern ape means the ancient ape which are found in Africa. Now classification of early human species. On the basis of bone structure, the human species are identified. Different bone structure may have evolved due to positive feedback mechanism. What is positive feedback mechanism? We will discuss on this later on. Again, the human species are classified on other ground, that is typical characteristics of homos. Fossils are classified as Homo habilis, the tool maker, Homo erectus, the upright man, and the Homo sapiens, the wise or thinking man. Homo habilis were the first people who made tool and their fossils are discovered at Omo in Ethiopia and Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. And the earliest fossils of Homo erectus, who were the upright men, the people who walked on two legs, their fossils have been found both in Africa and Asia. Kubifora and West Turkana in Kenya, and Moscow Kato and Sangiran, Java. Then the earliest fossils of Homo sapiens are found everywhere in the world. Further, in some instances, the names for fossils are derived from the places where the first fossils of a particular type of ancient humans were found. So, fossils found in Heidelberg, Germany were called Homo heidelbergensis. The fossils found near Neanderthal Valley, they were categorized as Homo neanderthalensis. So basically, classification of early human species is done on the basis of the bone structure, on the basis of the typical characteristics of homos, on the basis of fossils where these fossils were found. Through this map, you can understand the growth of human being into from Australopithecus to modern man. So Lucy was the name given to the first skeleton of Australopithecus, which was found in Ethiopia. Then Heidelberg man evolved. Then Nebraska man, Piltdown man, Peking man, Neanderthal man, New Guinea man, Cro-Magnon man, and finally the modern man came into being. Now, the most important topic of this book is positive feedback mechanism. What is this? Actually, most of the students are find it difficult to understand this mechanism, this system. But before going through this, let's see one diagram. Positive feedback mechanism is a system. And what is system? System is an automated process where few inputs are processed and an output is found. And this output is evaluated and it is rectified, improvised, and the improvised input is again processed and improvised output is found. So this is a mechanism. This is a system through which people improve their capacity. So positive feedback mechanism is a system in which by repeated action, people improve their capacities, their capabilities, and they try to leave all their negative things. So positive feedback mechanism simply when a person do anything time and again, he or she becomes master in doing that work. So by repeated work, human became master in doing anything. This is positive feedback mechanism. A positive feedback mechanism is a mechanism which accelerates or improves the output created by a stimulus that had been activated previously. The positive feedback mechanisms are intended to set in motion level out of the normal range. A positive feedback mechanism allows cells to adopt to change in. For example, bipedalism enable human hand to be freed for carrying infants or object. In turn, as hands were used more and more, upright walking gradually became the more efficient. Apart from the advantage of freeing hands for various uses, for less energy is consumed while walking as compared to the movement of a quadruped. You can see and understand this system through this map, this diagram, which is given in NCERT book. Again, a question is asked on this drawing base. The question is, what do you understand by positive feedback mechanism? So I told you the positive feedback mechanism is a mechanism through which human became more capable by repeating a similar task time and again. So the next question is, how positive feedback mechanism help us improving tool making? So the answer of this is, by repeated action, a person become in efficient and skilled in that particular task. So increase in size and capacity of brain helps the tool making, because as human brain size will increase, the capacity of brain will increase, and the logical capacity of human will increase the capacity and the technique of tool making. Further, hands freed for using tools and carrying infants object. When people were walking on four legs quadruped, they were not able to make tools. But when they started moving on two legs, their two hands were freed to make tool. Again, bipedal locomotion helped human being in visual surveillance. Now they could see longer distance while walking, foraging, and hunting. So upright walking helped in tool making. So this way, positive feedback mechanism helped humans in tool making. Through this map, this chart, flow chart, we can understand the impact of positive feedback mechanism. Increasing carbon dioxide in environment leads global warming. Global warming results in increased evaporation, further increased water vapor, then warm atmosphere, and this cycle goes on. So when carbon dioxide is increased, the global warming will be the result. This can be understood through this common process, the popular process, positive feedback mechanism. But you can tell this process is negative feedback mechanism. Thank you for right now. Now I will start the second part of this lesson in next video. Thank you for having patience.